How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yep. It looks like I'm going. Thanks, Sandra. You should be able to hear me now. I said it's a happy Tuesday. Sorry about last week. Looks like my YouTube is working because I see lots of people out there watching on YouTube. So I actually am the lucky girl instead of Brother So's channel today was not going there. Glad y'all could join me today. Sorry about last week, but VDTA was lots of fun. Got to see people in person, which is always nice. This weekend, if you are in the Chattanooga area, I will be at VDTA. I had turned off my box earlier because to save, just to keep things cool in here, and it had switched over to the other mic connection. So evidently it defaults to mic number 2 instead of mic number one instead of mic number 2. So when I turn it back on, I forgot to flip it over. So, but good deal. So very few people sent in questions, but I have had one repeating one. So I'm going to go back over this because we've been creating a lot of appliques in our software, but I haven't been showing you how to send them back out. So I figure that may be a good topic to start with, and then we'll go from there. I do have a question today on how to get ScanNCut files, but I was waiting to hear back from Velvet as to what ScanNCut machine she has, to whether I know whether to go wireless or go to a device. So needed to know that question. So if Velvet, if you're on, let me know. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here, and I am going to start. We'll start here in BES4. It is the same whether you have BES4 or BESBlue. The activity that we're about to do is the exact same, except for if you have Power Pack 1 or Power Pack 2, you can send wirelessly to your ScanNCut if you have a wirelessly enabled ScanNCut. So let's bring in a design. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to the application button, and I'm going to choose import, and I'm going to choose merge. And we're going to merge. And this is a built-in applique here for BES4, but I'm showing you something that, you may encounter. Okay. So you'll notice this design has the applique placement stitch is running right down the center line. When you have one that's running right down the center line, that's when you need to add in offsets, okay? That's the really big thing about it. So if we want this one to turn into a ScanNCut file, you'll notice that this says amber red. So that's not the color we need it to convert. In order for the BES4 to know to read it as a ScanNCut file to create artwork from, it must be changed to the color Brother Applique Material. So if we come up to the applique, looks like a tic-tac-toe board. This is where you select your colors. And I'll be honest, Brother Embroidery is usually what I have selected because I pick my colors at the machine. I don't care what the color says, but I realize that not everybody's like that. But for this activity, you need to have the Brother color palette selected, okay? Once you've done that, go over here all the way to the far side, and you'll notice I didn't pick the enhanced chart. I picked Brother Embroidery simply because there are fewer colors. So you want to come here and see that little icon right there? We want to click it. And that will take us all the way to the end of the thread chart. And if you go this is a no color, basically. 1, 2, 3. Applique material is color number 100. Select that color and notice it changed to it here. Now, if you don't want to go and find it, we can do it a different way. So if we select this piece right here, and I'm going to hold my control key down and select this one. So these are the placement stitches. Actually, these are the placement stitches, but they're the exact same. So it doesn't matter. We're going to, since they are running down the center line, they are the exact same as this one, with the exception that one has that little line. We don't want that little line to be turned into artwork, so select those two pieces. However, having said that, if you are not able to do that, we'll select the two that have the little line, and I'll show you how to get rid of those. Let's go search for the color. This is your search key. Oh, shoot, I keep doing it. There we go. That right there is your search key. Touch that little button and type in applique. You want the color applique material. It will, then you touch the word find, and you'll notice it highlights it. And there it is right there. It's highlighted it. Touch it. And now it's changed it to that color. If you've already changed one, it would be in your color list here. You could also find it that way. So now click off of everything. Click on the select tool and then click off of everything. Go to your tools tab and touch the scan and cut button. Here are our pieces parts. And it looked like it did not make those little extra lines. So we actually are in perfect shape. That's what we want. If you do not have a wireless machine, or if you do not have a power pack, you will touch the export FCM file right there. That little guy right there. Touch that and name it. And save it. Okay. Now, you heard me say that you would need offsets for this one. So if you have Power Pack 2, you can create that offset here in the software before you export it. Touch your Arrange tab, touch Offset, and choose Create Offset. And we want to remove the original, but I'm going to actually leave it the way it is right now. We want the outer edge only. I'm going to leave as so you can see it. So I'm going to leave it for right now, but if you don't want it to actually export that piece right there, then you would remove it. We'll leave it for this one, and the next one I'll remove it. But first of all, I need to be in metric because I know this in metric. So let's touch that offset key again. Spacing 2 millimeter, that's probably pretty good. Touch OK, and you'll notice it increased. It added an offset and put it around the outside edge. So then we could go in and delete the first segment of that. Let's look and see if we like it though. So let's copy that. I'm going to change its color so you can see it. Let's copy it, put it back on the other side and paste it. So here it is. That one may be just a little bit too big. So 1 millimeter is probably what we want to go with. So let's undo that. Go back to our artwork tab and let's undo twice. 3 times for me. Here we go. Let's touch the offset key and I'm going to change the spacing to 1 millimeter. This time I'm going to remove it so we don't have to do that extra step. Touch OK. There it is. Let's change its color so you can see it when I copy and paste it. Let's copy and paste. Oops, paste. And that's about perfect. So you can see that that created it just a little bit bigger and made it to where it's going to actually fit underneath there, because appliques are generally made assuming that you are going to cut it in the hoop. So it's not, most of them are not created for a digital cutting machine. That's why that offset needs to be in there. That makes sure that the fabric gets caught, okay? So that's the biggest difference. So what have you got, Patty? Okay, the difference between the two, if you use an offset, if you resize, it changes the size, it makes it bigger, but it doesn't necessarily do it in the proportions that you need. An offset looks at just the entire dimensions of the entire thing, and it will resize it appropriately around the entire thing. So it basically, think of echo quilting. It echoes it out exactly, as opposed to just if you copy and paste something and resize it, it becomes just bigger. So let's look. Let's do that. So let me grab this one right here and we'll copy it and I'll paste it. And let's make it size. Let's make it 32.1 and by 41.8. Let's take this off by, why are you not, by 41.8. Because that's exactly a millimeter on all sides. When we apply it, let's turn off its fill so you can see what it looks like. It is, that one actually did okay. If you had left the absolute value on and had it do it both, do it dimensionally, it would have changed the dimensions of the lower one to where it wouldn't be appropriate. So let me undo that and show you what I mean by that. So if I put absolute in here, and it's right now 31.2, so we're going to make it 32.2. And notice that bottom number is 40.8. We would want it to be 41.8. It goes up to 42.1. So that's going to be slightly off kilter. Not tons, but slightly off kilter. If you have something that has an outside and an inside, it's really important. Or if it has, okay, let's say it's an animal and it has a lot of intricate details to it. When you resize it, it's not going to be proportional in the space that you want it to be. Okay. So that's really what you need to think about. All right, so that's how you would do the offset in the software. On the ScanNCut machine, you would go into your edit menu and there is an offset key that you would select. I do not have a camera aimed at the ScanNCut machine today, so I can't really show you there. I'd have to set up a whole new thing. All right, but that's how it's done. Before I send this to my ScanNCut machine, if I'm not going directly from the software, I would take it into Canvas Workspace. So we'll do that in just a sec. Let's go back up here. If I'm sending directly from here, I can go up to my application button and choose. You would do that for each of those pieces, just so you know. I would go ScanNCut machine, and then I would send it to my ScanNCut machine and say, okay. So there is an offset key on the ScanNCut, Lois, that you could do it to where you can do it there. Okay. Now, for those of you that have a wireless model and you don't want to put a USB stick in, and you're saying, you know, okay, it's great. I've got my BESBlue. I've got my BES4, because BESBlue does not have that option for us. Let me sign in. Hopefully I remember my sign in. Then I can bring that FCM file here. Did I export that one? I don't remember. Let's go back in and let me undo. We're just we're gonna take this back to the original one and act like we didn't put the offsets, because there is another place that you can do this. We're good. Okay, so let's go to our Tools tab and let's export this FCM, and we're gonna call it football. So there we go. We're gonna say yes, because I went back to the original pieces. So you can come up here. I am in Canvas Workspace now. Go up to the File pull-down menu and import it from your computer. And we should see football down through here. If I can remember, there we go. Where is it? Football. I got to remember where I put it, guys. I thought it was in Facebook Live Cindy. It should be. Am I just not seeing it? Let's put in football. Huh. I swear I just exported that bad boy. Export. Oh, website images. That would be why. Okay. It does help to remember where you put things. There's my football. There it is. Okay. So if you forgot to do that, and I noticed something here as well. So when you're in BES4, this is an important thing that you might want to do. If I take off the check mark in front of fill and click apply, I would have noticed that there is a missing spot right there. So I would want to close that shape, okay? So if I sent that directly over to the machine the way it was, and I didn't close that shape, I would have had a gap. It would have not cut that area, and you would have thought your ScanNCut was doing something wrong, when in truth it wasn't, okay? So double check that by taking that check mark off of the fill in your properties window right there, and then click close shape, okay? But if you forget and you're in Canvas Workspace, we can do that too here. So if I tap this twice, I can then come in here and I can say close that outline, and it should now be closed. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Velvet, then you probably do not have Power Pack 1 or 2 purchased or activated. Okay, so let's go into our edit menu. If you don't have the Power Pack and you can't do the offsets in BES, you can do them right here. Offset, create offset line. Well, I don't know how big it is, so I need to change to metric. I'm a metric kind of girl when it comes to settings. That's how I learned these things. I cannot undo my learning. So we're going to come down here, offset, and we don't want it 5 millimeters. We want it 1. Click OK. There we go. So now you would take out the inner piece. Which one's the inner piece? Not that one. So let me come back to my layers menu and figure it out. It's this guy right here, delete. So we would come and grab these two. Let's see if we can do 2 at a time. Go down here to our offsets. Once again, we want them at 1 millimeter, so it's there already. And if I had done delete for leave the original outline, I would have been perfect. So we're going to say delete. That offset has been created for that one. I didn't get it for this one. So there we go. And we're perfect. So now those are ready to send to your ScanNCut machine. And you can certainly send wirelessly from here. So let's see here. We can go up to the application button, export, transfer that FCM file, and transfer the file via the internet. Okay. So that gives you the capability of being able to do it. So, you know, if you don't have the Power Packs, that's not the end of the world. You have other options that you can do. Canvas Workspace is a huge tool, guys, and it's free to you. So I certainly suggest, you know, I don't have offsets. Okay, I'll just take it over to another program and take care of it. It's not the end of the world if you don't have the other. Okay. So thanks, Edna. I'm glad that's helpful. Okay. So Velvet, you must not have that Power Pack activated. That would be my assumption. Okay. Now, let's go over to PE Design and talk about the same thing and how you would do it there. So I'm going to open PE Design 11 down here. What program am I in? I keep getting that question, so I'm going to answer it. Once again, now I have switched to PE Design. So I'm in my import menu over here because I don't want to change the original file. So I'm importing in from the right-hand side. And I'm going to touch my football applique here. The reason I imported instead of opened is because I'm going to change this original file. And once again, if I look at it in Stitch View, and down here's where you switch to Stitch View, down here at the bottom, or go to your View tab and switch, you'll notice that that applique position line is running down through the center of it. And that's what you always need to look at. Where is that line? Okay. So if it is a design that you've purchased and it is in fixed stitch format, which means it's got the black dashed lines around it, we need to do a little bit of playing with it. Okay. You go up to the stitches tab at the top because that's the other indicator. It's telling you I am in stitch format. I'm not a block. I'm not an outline. I am in fixed stitch format. So we're going to touch stitches. And we want to divide this by color because we want to select the under parts. Let me show you what happens if I don't divide by color. So I want this piece right here. So I click on it and I click my select patterns and I go to my ScanNCut tab and I choose export. The whole football's there. That's not what I want. I want the inside pieces, the little pieces, okay? So we're going to go up here to the Stitches tab and we are going to divide by color. Okay, so we've divided it by color. Now we're going to come up here and grab this one. And I'm actually going to try to get all the first pieces at the same time and see what happens for us. We're going to say select patterns and go to our ScanNCut tab. We want to send it to our ScanNCut machine, so we want to choose export. I don't want it around just the outermost edge, so choosing all three of them is not the best option at the same time. And you can tell because it's going to go inside those areas, and that's not what I want. So we're going to do them one at a time. I'm going to select the first one, click the Select Patterns icon, touch my ScanNCut button, and touch Export. Now you'll notice, there we go, it's that one piece, and the offset spacing is at 0.04 inches. Well, you all heard me say I don't know anything in inches, so we're going to come back and do it again, which is 1 millimeter. That is the default spacing, okay? So it is automatically adding an offset for you here. The only thing that I'll tell you is that it looks like it is chopping those corners off. So I think I would rather add my offset in this particular case in Canvas Workspace. So take the offset spacing off by sliding it all the way down. And you can see that it's open right there. So let's say save the FCM file. If I send it to Canvas Workspace, it's going to be the online workspace, and I don't want to work there. So we're going to go to Save as FCM file. We're going to call this Football End 1. And I'm going to save it. Okay. So let's close that. It's saved. Let's go to the second piece, which is this end piece. Or did I just do the end? No, I did the beginning. So I double clicked it to select it, go back to the ScanNCut tab and export. And once again, I don't like how it chopped that end off. So I'm just going to slide that offset spacing down to 0, save it as, and I should have saved that other one as the center, and it's not. So we'll go Football End 2. We'll just call them all football ends. And then we would go to the last piece, which the first piece in each color. I'm double clicking it to select it. You can click it and click your Select Patterns icon if you prefer. Go to your ScanNCut tab, export, slide it all the way down to the end, save that FCM file. And we're going to call it End. So Lois, I can show you a different way to do this in just a minute. I'm going simplest method to hardest method, okay? If I didn't want to send those all separately, I'm going to hold my control key down here in my window and select those pieces. And I'm going to copy. Control C on your keyboard copies. I'm going to open up another window of P Design. And close my wizard, and I'm going to paste. So there's my pieces pasted, and let's separate them. All right, so we should be able to grab the whole thing now. Select Patterns, ScanNCut, Export. So now if I don't have that one far enough apart. So actually we're not going to put an offset, so we're good. We can export, take the offset off, and now they can all go at the same time. Save as FCM, and we'll call this one Football Hole. Just a different method of doing it because those were attached to each other. It was I had to pick insides and outsides, and it wouldn't work. Okay. So let's go to this Canvas workspace and let's look at both of those items. Let me delete this. We're going to go File, Import from my computer, and I should have saved these to the correct thing, I think. Let me look. Where did I save those things to, guys? Perfect. They went to the place that I thought they would. Okay. All right. Cindy, Facebook Live Cindy files. We should see footballs in here now. So here's my football in 1, 2, and 3. So let's pick 2. One. Three. Okay, so here are all 3 of them. Now you'll notice there's a little funky thing going on with this guy that we couldn't really tell when we were in our software. What is that? That's because that line was not closed. So how can I fix that? Tap it twice, and let's zoom way in on this guy. And we are going to select this point right here, and we are going to see if we can open that. And we can. So now let's take this and move it like that. And let's see if we can open that one. Nope, we can't. So it's not going to let me open that guy. So we're just going to kind of take these, move them around. I'm getting them all to where I can get rid of them. You know what? Let's see if we have to do that. I'm thinking we may not have to do that. Let's see what happens. I can't close the line, but let's see if I add my offset. Do I have to actually do that? Yep, I have to do it. Because it had that open space in the middle, it's going to mess things up. So let's pull these in and just delete those points out. You can hold your control key down and come down through here and grab them. I'm going to hide my control points to make this easier. We're going to minus them out or press delete on your keyboard. And let's go down here and see what we've got. And the only reason I'm showing you this is because not all appliques are created in the same way. At some point when you do this, you're going to come across exactly what we're seeing here. And if you don't close the line, or if you didn't realize it was there, part of your applique is not going to cut, and the machine can't fix it for you. So you have to know where to fix it in the software to be able to make it work. And that's just the way the designer created it. And sometimes they will leave open spaces. That happens a lot in BES. In some of the original designs, they did not close them because originally it was never supposed to be meant to be used with a cutting machine. So these were created probably before we had cutting machines out there. And this is not that hard. It's just a little bit time consuming. It's not as time consuming if you're not talking while you're doing it. But it's not hard. We're just getting the little circles and we're deleting them out. So we're going to control key this and minus those out. And we should be pretty much, there we go. We're almost done here. Minus that out. Okay. So now I'm not sure whether I can or not, but we're going to see. We're going to tap this twice and see if we can close the line. And we can. Now that we've removed that whole extra area, we can close the line, which means that an offset can be applied to that one. Okay. So let's go to the offset key. 1 millimeter. We want it to delete the original, and off we go to the races here. Offset key, 1 millimeter. And we're done. So now you're ready to send those. Okay. The other I'm going to move this one down so you can see the one that comes in all together. So the other way that I did that one, if I import it from my computer where I had the football hole, what did I call it? There it is, football hole. Imagine that. It has the same issue. So you'd have to do the same exact thing that I just did for this one, but you brought them in all at the same time. So Sharon, you would always do the outside line. Okay, because that's you want the outer edge to be taken away. Excuse me, the inside line. You want to keep the outside line. So if it gives you that second one, it's looking at both sides of that outline. So it's giving you both sides of that outline in the software. You don't want the inner one. You want the exterior one because that's going to be closest to what you need. It's going to be slightly off if you pick the inner one. I mean, if you kept the inner one. So you want to keep the outside, get rid of the inside. Okay. Download it to your computer from the one online because you don't see your Canvas workspace projects. That I don't. So if I come here, I don't see my projects. The only ones that I see if I send it directly to Canvas workspace are the ones that are in Canvas workspace. So if I want it, I need to download it to my computer. That's why I saved it as an FCM file instead of sending it to Canvas workspace, Lois. I have no idea, Velvet. You're going to have to talk to Brother about that one. I've never seen that error message. Are you outside of the parameters of the hoop that you've got? I mean, are you outside of these parameters? That's the only thing I can think of is that you're outside of the parameters or you have not connected up your machine to your Canvas workspace account. Those are the two reasons I can think of that it might not work. Okay. Patty, they are not, when I added, they are not the same size because remember, I added an offset to the bottom ones. That's what changed their size. Okay. All right. Looking to see if I have any other questions. Does not look like it. Okay. So now let's look at something that we create in PE Design. Totally different animal. Because we have options here. So instead of bringing in an FCM file today, I'm going to go in here to our categories and we're going to choose we're going to choose from outline shapes. And let's create us one. So I'm going to go to, let's see here. How about floral today? And let's double click on this guy right here. It's spring. This looks like fun. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And let's make sure, yep, we have whole sewing set. So we should be good. That means everything's going to go the direct. Actually, we don't want whole sewing set on this because I want 3 different pieces. So I'm going to cancel whole sewing. Shortcut, just so you all realize this. If you don't want to go back to your home tab to set whole sewing or to cancel whole sewing, you can right mouse click. Go down to modify overlap, cancel whole sewing. And looky there, whole sewing's gone. So those are now free to move about on their own. So if you don't want to go, let's say I needed to create whole sewing, same way. I should have modify overlap, set whole sewing. Oh, I have to do it one pair at a time. Sorry. So I'd have to go top to bottom. Those two, select them, right mouse click and say modify overlap, set whole sewing. And you'll notice there's a hole clicked out of there. So now let's grab this one and this one. Select it. Right mouse click and say set modify overlap, set whole sewing. Okay. So that is, that's your shortcut to get to those if you don't want to go back to the home tab. Okay. Now I'm going to grab them all, go to my applique wizard. I want it to replace. You can pick whatever width you want. Let's go with 4 millimeters today and say, okay. Ooh, 4 millimeters is too wide. So let's go back to 3. Select them all, applique wizard, and I'm going to go back to 3. There we go. I'm happy with that. You could go a little bit different if you want. But what's different about this one is when you go to the ScanNCut and you choose export, you'll notice it's looking at the whole kit and caboodle right now. Even if I take my offset spacing down, that's not what I want. So let me come and see if I grab this piece, if it'll give me what I want. Looky there. That's exactly what I want. Now, when you create something in PE Design, you do not need to add any offset to it. If you create an applique here using the applique wizard, I'm going to stress this one a gazillion times. If you create it yourself in PE Design 11, you do not need to add any offset to it. It automatically bumps that placement stitch out to the edge. Okay, let me show you what I mean. If we look at this closely, let me go zoom in. And I think I'll change my colors for, actually, you can see the 3 colors. But if I touch that first color and change it to red, do you see how that's across, around that outside edge there? That's where you want it to be. That's optimal for using a cutting machine with an applique. So this one automatically bumps it to the place that you need it to go for all of them. And you remember I canceled whole sewing because I was going to put fabric within these. If I had whole sewing set, it would have turned that applique the opposite direction. So that fabric would have been going the wrong way. That's why I canceled the whole sewing. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. We can do the same thing with this applique. Actually, we'll do the same thing. So let's grab the ScanNCut and let's grab that little piece again. And let's see here. Let's see if we can grab all 3 pieces at the same time. It would be good if we could. I don't know if we can, but we'll try it. Export. Offset spacing down to 0. Perfect. So you can send them all at the same time. Okay. So slide them all the way down and they're ready to go. And you can send that to Canvas Workspace this time because we don't need to work on it, right? So let's touch send to Canvas Workspace. And the next thing that's going to come up, why is it not working today? Because it wants me to log back in. Okay, let's try it again. So it's been sent. I'm going to say okay. And it says, do I want to send it to my ScanNCut? Yes. And now it's at my ScanNCut machine ready for me to receive it. So that it's nice that it lands there. It gives me that option and I can play with it. And you can do whatever you want at that point, but you do not have to add an offset there. Okay, let's look at this with whole sewing instead. I'm going to leave that one on my screen. I'm just going to move it out of the way. So we're going to grab the whole kit and caboodle and move it out of the way. And let me bring this guy back in and make him bigger again so you can see what's happening and go to our applique wizard. We're wanting to replace it. Why is it not giving me that? Wait a minute. Aha, let's do this. Let's cancel whole sewing and see what's happening. So I want to go down here. I want to make sure it has whole sewing in it. And it does not have it for all of them. So let's cancel that. Modify overlap, cancel whole sewing. There we go. Ooh, hello. I hit a button I didn't mean to there. Okay, so let's see if we grab those 2. Select them. Modify overlap, set whole sewing. Modify overlap, set whole sewing. Okay, so now it should give me one. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I wanted to make sure we had whole sewing in it because now it gives me create an applique with whole sewing. When I touch that button right there and I say, okay, it did not grab my center piece, which is interesting, but I must not have picked them all up. I want you to look at the direction where your placement line is. So let me scroll down here and show you what I mean. If I grab this one, where's my plate? There. Yep. Did I hit color sort? There we go. That's the one we're looking at. Okay. So you see that placement stitch? Going the wrong direction. We need it over here. So if you cut your fabric and you're wanting it to be inside here, it's not going to be there. Okay, that's really important to remember. Don't have whole sewing set when you're doing an applique that you want layered, because if you do, the placement stitch is in the wrong place. Okay, so go back in, cancel your whole sewing, and make it work for you. All right, let's look at BES4 and what you would do to make those adjustments. How am I doing on time? We're almost done today. Control A. I'm going to delete. All right. If I create something in BES4, so let me just import artwork. Trying to see what I want. We've done this a lot of times. I do want to do something kind of Easter. It's kind of easy, not crazy. Okay, let's go with our flamingo here. If I convert this to an applique, I've got an applique. I've got 2 parts. I can come in here and tell it that I want color number 3 to be either black or brown. There's a brown right there that works. So I've got my 2 parts, but let's look where that applique placement line is. So these are ones that I've created or something that is in BES4. Notice that it's down that center line again, not what we want. What I do with these appliques, we're going to grab this piece right here, and we're going to change that inset percentage to about 80 to 85% and click apply. Notice now how that's going to that outside edge. That's what you want. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to change that to like 85, whatever the same percentage that you used on the previous one. There we go. After you've done that, you may have to move your items back on top of each other and remove your overlaps, but that's what you want to do, okay? That makes that placement stitch be exactly where you want it to go. So now, when you touch your ScanNCut tab, I would remove my overlaps, but for now, you get the concept. Here's my ScanNCut tab. This is what I would export. Now, export FCM, or because this time you do not have to add an offset, because that inset percentage change is what we did to make this work. It would work for you automatically. So if you're not going wirelessly, you can just type in the name and put your USB stick in and go straight over there. Name it, choose your USB stick here on the machine and go straight over there. Okay. If you are planning on going wirelessly, then save it to your computer and bring it up through Canvas Workspace and transfer it over. Those are closed shapes because we brought them from the ScanNCut. I don't remember where I actually got that shape. But I may have traced it. I have no idea where I got the original flamingo that I did. Always send the FCM file after you've created your applique. I can't stress that enough. Let me say it again. Bring in the FCM file, create the applique, and then create another FCM file. The reason being, it will be the size that you need for the applique. If you don't, it may not meet up where you want it to go, because as the applique is created, it may adjust that shape slightly. So you don't want to have it be in the wrong place. Okay. Now, Velvet, let me answer your last question about getting your advanced quilt design block over to the ScanNCut. I'm sorry, guys. It is allergy season and I'm dying. All right, let me come find my block. So here's my 6-inch. I'm just going to drag a block in, and I'm going to take this all the way down to 1 because I do like to send it out as a project file instead. This way I get all of my directions and everything. So if I place 1 block in the center, whether or not I've got an entire quilt of them, this makes it easier for me. So I'm going to go to my Tools tab, and I'm going to say Export Project. Make sure your seam allowance is at 0.25. I keep my spacing at 0.20. Tell it where you want it to go. So if you're planning on sending it to a USB stick, you would hit the ... which is the ellipse button, and go find your USB on your computer. So I would have to come down here. Here's a USB drive. I can touch that and touch OK, and then I would name it. All right. And since your wireless does not seem to be working right now, that's what I would go for if I were you. If you don't want to go to an external folder, then put it on your C drive and send it from Canvas Workspace. Import it into Canvas Workspace just like we did the appliques. Same process. Okay. Now, the necktie is not in the ScanNCut machine. It is in BES4. So it's in the word collage shapes, oddly enough. So hold on a second, and I'll show you that little trick. Let's see. And it is perfect for Father's Day. If you have my BES4 book, I actually use that for a Father's Day project in word collage. So if I go to my Tools tab, here we are. Word collage, touch word collage. What do you know? It's the first one on my list. But let's see here. I believe it's further down. I'm pretty positive it's a built-in shape in here. And it would be under T's for tie. There it is. No, that's not the same one, but this one is built in, so it would work. Okay. Then you put all your words in there and play with it. But if you just want it to be, if you just want to have the tie, go ahead and just put a word in. Generate it, or don't put any words in. It doesn't matter. Touch OK. Oh, I wanted to do it as artwork, but doesn't matter. You can hit the ScanNCut button. Oops. Let me come back and grab the first color of this. So we actually needed that to be artwork. And that only works if you have the second power pack. So let me go back in. Let me grab that. Actually, let's just use this tie. And this time I would choose artwork. And let's just generate. It'll give me a word and collage because I don't care. I want the artwork. Excuse me. Now, here's my tie with the artwork, and I can just simply pick that piece up and send that to my ScanNCut and get rid of everything else. Voila. So that's there. Now, let me come back in. I saw another question on advanced. You can try that. I haven't played with that, to be honest, Sandra. You could put it down to nothing, and it would probably work better through Canvas Workspace than it would on the machine, but you can try it and see. See if it'll let you add the seam allowance. You'll have to move the pieces apart, would be my guess. Okay. But I haven't tried that because the seam allowance is there and I don't draw them. So let's see here. What do we got? New subject. Okay, I actually, on heat, you're talking heat transfer vinyl, right? I don't create registration marks. What I do is I have everything laid out. I did this for a Brother Sews before. I have everything laid out as one, and I use a piece of rhinestone template transfer material, and I draw on it. Let me see if I've got one over here done. Give me just a second. I think I do. So yes, here we go. So I take a universal marking pen, permanent marker, and I draw mine onto the transfer tape. That way I can layer my pieces onto the back of it. I'll do it one layer at a time and just take them off and put the next layer on. Or if they're not overlapping, I can put them all on at the same time. I think I did that for Brother Sews. Gosh, sometime last year, because I did the sewing needle thing, I believe. So that's my suggestion. That makes it easier. But with heat transfer vinyl, you can, I like to see the overall effect. And so that's why I draw it. That way I can figure out where it needs to be on my garment, because I always make sure I draw, in addition to having drawn my actual heat transfer, I will draw center markings down the center of it so that I can line it up right in the middle. That's my preferred method of doing it. So everybody has the way that they do it. That's the way I do it. There are registration marks that you could create in BES4, but you don't want them to transfer. So if you create the registration marks, you have to be sure to take them off before you put it on. And that's one of those things that would not be very fun to have transferred to your shirt. So, I mean, I can add registration marks for, let's see here. Let's create something. Let me add a design and let's go down here. I'm in BES4 and I'm going to add artwork cut designs. Okay, so here we go. And let's say this was my I was going to do this on heat transfer vinyl. Key thing being is you must remove it. So if I go to the Arrange tab, do you see this little button called Layering Alignment? This is Power Pack 2. Press that little button. You can choose where you want those marks to be. Touch OK, and you'll notice that it has separated my parts out, and each one has the layering alignment marks on them. That's how you line things up. Having said that, if you do that with heat transfer vinyl, you've got those squares on there. So I still like the way I do it better. Because in order to be able to line it up with the next layer, you have to have the registration mark. So if you ironed that on, you're not going to be a happy camper. Okay. Adhesive vinyl, that's the way you go. Heat transfer vinyl, I go this route. Or you eyeball it. Okay. All right, guys. I think that I thought that was a genius idea too, because I was having the same issue. I'm like, how am I going to get these together? I want to make sure they're in the center. And that was the best that was the best way I come up with. And you do not take the rhinestone paper, the template backing off of it when you're drawing on it. Just leave it on there, draw it on, then you can let it dry, then you remove it and stick your heat transfer vinyl carrier sheets to this. It works perfectly. Yes, you can certainly purchase heat transfer vinyl everywhere. And if you need a place, Mid-South Crafting sells online. They're my dealer here in town, and they sell tons of it. Caesar Vinyl is what Brother has as well, and you can purchase that as well. But just go ahead. Well, you could do that as well. You could do that as well. So, all right, guys. The only reason I do it the way I do it is because then I have my center mark. I have the whole, like I said, I just find it easier. So yeah, I don't like it when things are off center. It bothers me. So that is I'm a little OCD when it comes to that, if you all haven't noticed. So, all right. I know we covered a lot of ground and a lot of things. Nobody sent any questions. So I was basically winging it. If you are in Chattanooga this weekend, I will be at the Everything Embroidery Mart. So if you want to come by and say hi, please do, because that's where I'll be. Oh, yeah, you can purchase the rhinestone transfer sheets. Yes, you certainly can. So it's just rhinestone transfer tape, I think is what its technical name is, rhinestone transfer tape. And you can buy it separately. And, if you don't heat it too much, you can use it over and over and over again. So, all right, y'all have a great rest of the week. Send in those questions for next week and let me know how things are going. Y'all talk to y'all later. See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye. Shoot, I forgot to tell you, I have coupon codes this week. Oh, well. Here, there's a few of you still out there. I do have coupon codes this week for you. Lettering so easy for your BES4, LET4. Keep in mind, I will not be here this weekend, so it will go out on Monday. DIGT is your Digitizing So Easy for version 10. And once again, keep in mind, I will not be here to ship it this week. I leave tomorrow, so it will ship on Monday. But they're there. So y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.